Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with some more brand new Playmates figures. We've got Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire, Godzilla Evolved, and Kong, the real feel versions. Now, as you can see, these are part of the new Monsterverse figures from Playmates. These have just recently again released, and we can see brand new packaging for these figures, which obviously has been updated from Playmates, and I think it looks really cool. I love the colors, I love the artwork and everything. It looks fantastic. You can see again a nice shot of Kong and real feel down here, and then if we turn the packaging around, you can get another shot of the figure here on the back, and then down here an image of what else you will find in this wave, which honestly I would say is some of the best that Playmates has to offer since this line began. You've got Tiamat, you've got the One Eye, Mechagodzilla, the Drowned Viper, and Godzilla Evolved. So definitely some super cool stuff, and the Godzilla Evolved is obviously this version, which again is the real feel Godzilla Evolved. And of course, once you turn it around, you're going to see the same thing, except Godzilla is now replaced with Kong, and then a nice shot of the Godzilla figure on the back and some information. So let's go ahead, pop the boxes open, and check these out. So here they are now assembled and out of the packaging, and apparently I have the camera too high, which I didn't realize at first. And we can see the figures look pretty cool. Honestly, I would say the Godzilla over here might be my favorite of the Playmates Godzillas that they've released so far. At least when it comes to this size range, I think it looks really nice. Although, okay, it does stand. I was going to say, although it seems like it's a little top heavy and wanting to fall. The Kong, though, I don't quite know how I feel about yet. So if we start with Kong and we bring the figure in, you can see he's got, focus, a little bit of a grumpy look on his face. You can see the mouth is slightly open here, showing off the teeth, and they're painted pretty decently. We have a little area here of the skin in the face of Kong, which looks okay. You can see the eyes are painted in here. They look all right as well. Nothing too amazing, though. And we've got the nostrils sculpted out, and the texturing of the skin looks okay. And overall, the face doesn't really have that much of like a real feel to it, honestly. It does feel more like, I'm trying to see, I mean, maybe it's like a really hard rubber, but it kind of feels more plasticky to me. But you can see we do have the scars on the chest of Kong. Of course, not sculpted out, just painted, but you can see like the abs and stuff. Again, though, it does look a little bit weird, especially considering this is a piece that was applied, it looks like over top. Like, you can really see the very obvious seam where that area is connected, so it doesn't look very natural. It looks honestly like it's something that Kong just sort of glued to his chest, and does look a little bit out of place. But past that, once you move into the body of Kong, you can see, of course, his ear and everything, but you can also see the fact that the figure overall, when it comes to the real feel aspect, is just kind of like a really weird, fuzzy sort of like a material. It's very interesting. He does have articulation in the head, basically on a swivel, which is nice. I don't think, no forward or back or anything, but it just has basically like a slight fuzzy feel to the entire figure. And when we get nice and close and the camera focuses there, you can kind of see it. So they've kind of like sculpted out the fur and stuff, but then placed this sort of fuzzy material over top. One thing that is a bummer, though, you can see screw holes here on the back of the figure. Now, that's pretty common when it comes to these Playmates figures, but it is unfortunate for Kong this time around because the Godzilla, I didn't notice any screw holes on. But you can see as you move through the back of Kong, again, the fur and everything looks pretty decent as far as the actual sculpting goes, and you do again have the fuzziness to it, which helps again give it that real feel, I guess. You do also have articulation in the arms, basically on a swivel. It cannot come out away from the body or anything. There's no elbow articulation. So when it comes to the Kongs, this should be, I would think, the least articulated out of all of the different Kongs that have released so far. As you continue to move down, you can see again we've got more of the fur over here, but then you do of course have the glove that Kong is wearing, and that mechanical glove thing does look pretty cool. Again, definitely looks nice on the figure, pretty much as it has throughout the course of all of the different Kongs that they have released. You can see the hands as well. Focus, camera. Again, you're not wanting to focus. There we go. We can see the hands look pretty good. You can see the fingernails and everything of Kong, some creasing and stuff in the skin when it comes to him sort of grabbing onto that glove and making a little bit of a fist. A little bit of a satin shine there on the palm of the hand for some reason. But again, the same articulation that we see on the opposing opposing side. And then as you lead down into the legs, again, pretty much exactly what you would expect. You have the, goofy sort of fuzzy, furry feel for the figure, and then you have the toes and everything sticking out here, again, painted with the light gray, and you can see the undersides of the feet, and then, of course, the fur here moving along the back. He does also conveniently have a screw hole, like right at the bottom of his butt crack, which is not good for Kong. But as you move here, again, you can see the articulation is basically just forward and back. So you have super basic articulation for Kong. He's okay for what he is. Again, he's definitely not my favorite of the Kongs, but I guess at least, Playmates is trying something different, which I have to give them props for. Now, Godzilla does have a rubber, sort of a real feel to him, and I do like that. Overall, again, he's a little bit flexible in most areas, like the arm and the elbow. You can even see a little bit of flexibility in the legs, which is nice. The body is definitely harder, but overall, the figure feels like it is actually completely solid, so it has a pretty heavy and hefty sort of feel to it. The tail is also quite flexible, so as you move out into the tail, you can definitely see how we can move and bend the tail, which is definitely pretty fun. But if you start up here in the head sculpt of Godzilla, you can see he's got some nice pink eyes. They are absolutely gigantic when it comes to the amount of paint they've used, so it looks ridiculous, but they are, again, painted with a pink. You've got a really tiny black pupil. We do, of course, still have an articulated jaw. We've got a pink in there for the tongue. The teeth are okay, but a little bit, as far as the paint goes, it's a little bit sloppy, not super precise, but not too bad. I've definitely seen worse on some of these Playmates figures. I just wish they'd make the eyes a little smaller. You can see the eye on this side is also huge. But then we also have the pinkish coloration here pick up moving along the spines of Godzilla, and then as you move back a little bit further, they do kind of turn into that translucent sort of a pink look, which does look really cool. Also kind of gives it the look of like Godzilla's heat ray kind of like building up in a way, but it is maybe the most vibrant of the spines of Godzilla that I've seen on any of these Playmates figures so far. Like, they really stand out, and actually these spines are what sort of brought my attention on these figures when I had seen them on the shelf at Walmart. It was these spines and just how bright and pink they were that I noticed, because I saw the Drowned Viper was the first one on the peg, and then I noticed this one right behind it, and I was like, wait a minute, I think that's the real feel figure, and yeah, sure enough it is. But you can see, again, it is really quite impressive when it comes to just how bright and vibrant the spines are. The detail also looks pretty good. As you move through the body, I will say the detail definitely still looks a little muted in the actual body of Godzilla, but then as you move down into the arms, you can see it looks a lot nicer, a lot more impressive. We do have more sort of spines coming off of the elbow that are painted with a pink, and then the hands and everything sculpted nicely. It doesn't look like we have nail paint, but of course it would be a darker tone anyway, so it doesn't really much matter. I don't know if we have neck articulation for Godzilla. Doesn't seem like it. It's not moving. Of course, again, we do have the jaw articulation. You do have arm articulation forward and back, which is nice. You do have a lighter tone that moves down along the underside of Godzilla, and I like the fact that it kind of seems like we have like a light gray, but there's also a little bit of like a tan right here in the throat. And I think the actual application of the coloration moving down along the underside looks pretty nice and pretty smooth. We can continue to see it lead all the way down until you get to the tail, where we actually have to attach the tail. You can see that coloration ends like very abruptly, unfortunately. But as you again take a look at the opposing side, everything looks nice over here as far as the detailing, except for the body detail again being slightly muted, but not too bad. You do of course have leg articulation forward and back. I like, again, the flexibility of the legs because it is that rubber. And the detailing of the legs, again, looks really nice. If you were going to get one of these Godzillas to repaint and try to make it look more realistic, this is definitely the one to go for, because the detail, in my opinion, looks better on this one than, honestly, any of the others probably. You can see the feet look really quite nice. The nails, although unpainted, look really quite nice. And as you move back up, we lead out into the tail. We do, of course, have that area of articulation, which is pretty much like your usual articulation, it seems. Maybe slightly less mobile, but still has pretty much the same type of articulation. And then as you move down into the tail, you can see again, rather than the translucent pink, we do return to the pink paint that does follow through the entire tail all the way out onto the ending here of Godzilla's tail. And the detail again continues to look pretty decent as you move out. Maybe not super impressive, but pretty nice as a whole. So definitely a cool figure. I can absolutely say that this is my favorite of these Playmates Godzillas in this size range, and although he looks like he's super top heavy, for some reason he seems to be standing pretty nicely, which is quite shocking. Now, I don't think we really need to do any measurements or anything like that. I'm just going to grab the other versions of these to see if they size up the same way. So although it is not the standard paint variant, I keep these guys nearby, the kind of like 2-packs that were sold at Walmart where you had the sort of cooler looking color variants. I keep those ones here nearby, and you can see again pretty much the same size between these two different Kongs, maybe slightly like repositioned because the head on the one on the right looks like it's maybe slightly taller, but overall they're pretty close to the same size. And then of course when it comes to the Godzillas, same deal again where we have the alternate paint variant here, and as you can see again they are pretty much the same size overall. They definitely don't seem to differ when it comes to the size much at all, if at all. Although I'm looking at this Godzilla, and for some reason I thought there were actually screw holes on these Godzillas, and now I'm not seeing any screw holes on it. So I guess there wasn't. Maybe I was just making that up in my head. I don't know. But I still definitely like this Godzilla the most out of any of these Playmates Godzilla so far. I just really quite like the real feel aspect, and I think the detail looks better on that version. But as you can see, again, no need for measurements or any more size comparisons, as they are pretty much the same as the previously released versions. So these brand new Godzilla X Kong Playmates Real Feel Godzilla and Kong figures are pretty fun. I think the Godzilla is way better than the Kong. The Kong is kind of goofy and just looks goofy overall. Like, I definitely feel like the standard versions of Kong look a lot better than this one. But that being said, again, Playmates is just trying to give us something a little bit different, something a little bit new and kind of fresh, and I don't ever recall there being a real feel Kong before, so definitely a little innovative as far as that goes. So I have to give them props as far as trying something different. They definitely went for it when it comes to this, but I don't think the Kong figure's that great, and he does look a little bit awkward, and of course does sport less articulation than the usual Kongs do. But that said, the Godzilla, I think, is excellent. I love the Godzilla. Obviously, some things could be improved, like just how vibrant the detail is on the primary body and the eye paint being pretty big and goofy looking, but past that point, I feel like it looks okay. And honestly, maybe a few washes with like some light browns or something could just amp up the detail of this one and just bring it to life a little more if you wanted to just customize it a little bit. It is a nicely sculpted figure overall and definitely has a very cool look and some really vibrant pinks to the spines. So overall, they're not absolutely incredible, but in my opinion, they are worth picking up. So if you want them, check your local Walmart or Target. I have heard of people finding them at both. Grab them if you can find them. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.